for 2 more weeks to avoid a hard lockdown. Medical systems in the worst-hit cities like Taipei and New Taipei are already reaching their maximum capacities, so patients with mild or no symptoms are asked to be home quarantined.
轻症的病人基本上它占了80%，这是我们感染病人的主力。所以说，在这个时候，比如说我们现在有这个加强版的这个疾病检疫所，或者是防疫旅馆，或者是说我们讲的说方舱医院，这些都是一个很好的解决方案，把这些病人给分流过去。
The government is now rushing to set up more testing centers, securing more vaccines and quarantine facilities. So far, the island has only received 700,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines, and less than 1% of the island's 23 million population has been vaccinated. Now, most of the shops may be temporarily closed, as people are urged to stay home to break the chain of transmission. The fear is if the government fails to bring the current outbreak under control soon, some may be forced to shut down permanently. Victoria Jan, CNA, Taipei.
The Tokyo 2020 CEO says 9 hospitals will be designated for medical support of the Games. Toshiro Muto adds that the organizing committee will look to minimizing the number of people coming into Japan. There are growing calls for the event to be cancelled as coronavirus cases continue to increase in Japan. Official partner and newspaper Asahi Shimbun has called on Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and called on him to assess the country's COVID-19 situation before deciding on the cancellation. But Mr. Muto says no board member had discussed the cancellation or delay of the Games as a possibility during their meeting.
今のコロナの感染状況を踏まえ、特にこの緊急事態宣言が発出されていると、この状況の中で、いろいろな心配をされるのは当然のことだろうと思います。
At the same time, Tokyo 2020 President Seiko Hashimoto says there's been one positive case detected during Olympic test events held last month. One of the coaches flying into Japan was found to have COVID-19 at the airport and was transferred to a quarantine site. But as Ms. Hashimoto says, there's been no other case. She again assured that organizers would ensure adequate safety measures to prevent infections. The Summer Olympics are set to run from the 23rd of July to the 8th of August.
The Tokyo Summer Olympics, should it be cancelled, wouldn't be the first to face the axe. The modern Olympics, as we know it, was first held in Athens in 1896, the birthplace of the ancient competition. 20 years later, Berlin was meant to host the Summer Games, but World War I erupted in 1914 and lasted until 1918, forcing the first cancellation of the Olympics. Then in 1940, Japan won the bid to become the first non-Western country to host the Olympics. In fact, both the Summer and the Winter Games. But World War II forced those events to be scrapped. Now, before the outbreak of the war, the IOC awarded London the 1944 Summer Games and Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy, the Winter Games for the same year. But the grinding conflict led to the cancellation of those events too.
Several hospitals in Singapore are taking extra precautions against COVID-19. This follows the recent detection of positive cases amongst staff, as well as in nearby premises. A housekeeper who works at Sengkang General Hospital tested positive on Monday. The hospital has disinfected all the areas he was in. It is also conducting contact tracing and surveillance swab tests. It adds that the 27-year-old did not interact with any COVID-19 patients and developed symptoms a day after he was last at work. Ng Teng Fong General Hospital and Jurong Community Hospital will now conduct a second COVID-19 swab for all its staff and vendors. This is after a number of cases were uncovered in nearby malls like GEM and Westgate. There will also be routine testing for patient-fronting staff. One expert says testing is an effective layer of defense, adding that other precautions are also important.
We have to do what everyone else does, except better. Just make sure it's completely strict, talking about mask wearing, for instance, especially around colleagues, not just at the patient's bedside. Most of the admin staff are working from home. All our dining facilities, the commonly shared dining facilities, they're all closed. But actually the best thing to keep the hospitals free of COVID is to get the community numbers down, and then that lowers that risk of unidentified patients coming in with COVID.
Still to come, Sri Lanka turns to Bangladesh to help it weather a foreign currency shortage. Misinformation wreaking havoc as Pakistan's plans to immunize citizens.
There was a huge manhunt for this man.
Podcast producer Rovik Roberts investigates a mysterious murder from the past.
This is a spicy case. Spicy.
To understand how Singapore turned from a city of vice.
Singapore was a Chicago of the East. Clashes and shootings were rampant.
Into one of the safest in the world.
When the killing started, holy smoke, it was a game changer.
Into the Vault 3, tonight on CNA.
Every day, the financial world goes through dramatic rise and falls. We'll track the biggest market movers and show you where the opportunities lie. Get the experts' take on the performance of key indices. Plus all the analysis to help you understand forces driving global economies. The daily business news you need, only on CNA. This segment is brought to you by Xeon Corporation.
Bearing the brunt of worsening global warming.
As we see the whole landscape changing, it is really impacting our way of life.
Can we reduce our carbon footprint to fight climate change?
We're doing our bit to not rely so much on the coal-fired power stations to power what we do in our house.
Are the steps we're taking really enough? CNA correspondent, Fighting Climate Change. Friday on CNA.
This is Game Oji-san. I make YouTube videos. While he does bespoke carpentry, I get up close with a new generation of local craft people.
Whatever it took to become a woodworker, I think I did it.
Starting with a furniture artisan.
If you are a CEO, the desk represents you.
Will I keep on my fingers? Handmade Tales, a brand new series, Sunday on CNA.
This segment is brought to you by Xeon Corporation.
Hello there in business tonight. China is gearing up to become a top global asset management hub by 2025. Shanghai is looking to give qualified investors greater access to a wider range of assets in private markets from next month. Investment is picking up among global money managers. Just yesterday, foreign investors bought a record $3.4 billion of Chinese stocks via the Southbound Connect scheme with Hong Kong. To drive direct investment, foreign investors will be allowed to buy shares in unlisted companies under the expanded Qualified Foreign Limited Partner Scheme. They will also be able to participate in private placements by listed companies. There are also plans to promote the internationalization of the Chinese yuan as the Shanghai Stock Exchange seeks to rival Hong Kong for global capital. Shanghai will also be granting greater access to qualified domestic investors. Mainland investors will be able to access assets ranging from stocks and bonds issued by private companies. They will also be allowed to invest in securities, commodity,